everybody, it's Paddington at the Tower, this time by Michael Bond. One of the nicest things about being a bear and living with the Brown family was that most days Paddington was able to share his elevenses with Mr Gruber. So when he arrived at the baker's early one morning to pick up their supply of buns and met his best friend coming out, he could hardly believe his eyes. Such a thing had never happened before. "I've closed my shop for the day," explained Mr Gruber. "It's a long time since we had one of our outings. Jonathan and Judy might like to come along too. It will be their last chance before going back to school." Paddington needed no second bidding, and he rushed back home to number 32 Windsor Gardens as fast as his legs would carry him. The Browns' housekeeper, Mrs Bird, was as excited as anyone, and they ended up making so many sandwiches Paddington had a job closing the lid of his suitcase. "Bears always fall on their feet," she said. In no time at all they were on their way. "Where do you think we're going?" whispered Judy. "You will find out soon enough," was all Mr Gruber would say. "Wait and see." And there they are, on a bus. It was a long journey right across London, but suddenly they turned a corner and came to a stop. "It's the Tower of London!" chorused Jonathan and Judy excitedly, while Mr Gruber went to collect the tickets to go in. Paddington took a closer look. Wow. "I've never seen anything quite so big," he said to the man at the security check. "And I've never seen so many marmalade sandwiches," said the man, looking into his suitcase. He was about to feel underneath them, but he thought better of it. "That man didn't find my secret compartment," called Paddington as he hurried after the others. "Shh!" hissed Judy. She pointed to a man in a dark blue uniform standing nearby. "There's a yeoman of the guard. They're called Beefeaters, and they keep a lookout for anything suspicious." "I hope you didn't hear what I said," exclaimed Paddington, addressing the Beefeater. "No," said the man, "I can't say I did." Paddington was most relieved. He raised his hat politely, and as he did so, something fell out and landed on the man's highly polished boots. "It's a marmalade sandwich!" he exclaimed. "I couldn't get them all in my suitcase." "You can have it if you like. I expect it'll make a change from beef." "A marmalade sandwich!" repeated the yeoman. He gazed down at his boots, but by the time he looked up, Paddington had already disappeared. "That was a narrow squeak," said Jonathan as Paddington joined the others. Judy pointed towards a large black bird. "If you ask me, that raven has got his eye on your sandwich too." "Perhaps," asked Mr Gruber hastily, "we should visit the Crown Jewels." Paddington thought it was a very good idea until he saw the queue going in. "I shall never see over all their heads," he said. "Don't worry, Mr Brown," called Mr Gruber. "Follow me." And he led them onto a moving walkway where they had a good view of all the exhibits as they slided past them. Paddington was most impressed. "They've thought of everything at the Tower," he said. "I've never been on a moving floor before," said Paddington as they reached the end of it. "I wouldn't mind going round again." "I don't think we would be very popular if we did that," said Mr Gruber. He pointed to another display case instead. "That's the Imperial Crown of India. It has over 6,000 diamonds, but the Queen never uses it." "I'm not surprised," said Paddington. "There's nowhere to keep her sandwiches. She ought to have a hat like mine." The next exhibit was a large golden bowl the size of a small bathtub. "That was for holding wine," exclaimed Mr Gruber. "I don't suppose you had anything like that in darkest Peru?" "We had a big bath in the Home for Retired Bears," said Paddington, "except it wasn't made of gold, and there was a big queue for it on Friday nights." He licked his lips. They made cocoa in the rest of the week. Mr Gruber took the hint. "I think it's time for our elevenses," he said. There's Paddington licking his lips, thinking about Coco. That's funny, said Jonathan as they made their way outside. There are 3 ravens now. Paddington eyed the birds uneasily as they waddled towards him. Look, said Judy, pointing straight ahead. The ravens' tea house. We must be near where they live. I wonder if they have a bear's tea house, said Paddington. Oh, I doubt it, said Mr Gruber. In the old days there were lots of wild animals at the tower, lions and tigers and such like, but there aren't any more. They all went to Regent's Park Zoo. I think I'll just have a small lemonade, if I may, Mr Gruber, said Paddington. They might have left a lion behind by mistake. He's worried. By now, 2 more ravens had joined the others, making 5 in all. They must be after something, said Mr Gruber. I wonder what it could possibly be. While he was talking, a 6th landed. I think he's after your suitcase, Paddington, warned Jonathan. Paddington gave the bird a hard stare, and he was about to shoo it away when he heard a familiar voice. There he is, said the beefeater, addressing a grey-haired gentleman. I'd know him anywhere. Blue duffel coat, red hat, suitcase. Oh dear, said Judy as the man came towards their table. What now? Paddington felt his knees go to jelly. But the grey-haired gentleman was all smiles. I didn't know ravens like marmalade, he said. The Tower of London is famous for its ravens, but there's a legend which says if they ever fly away it will fall down, so anything which stops that from happening is most welcome. I've been instructed to present you with a special ticket that will enable you to visit us from now on whenever you like, free of charge. You will need proof of identity, warned the beefeater, otherwise you won't be allowed in. I think his suitcase will do the trick, said the man. There can't be many people who carry a case full of marmalade sandwiches around with them. I'm sure Mrs Bird can arrange that, said Mr Gruber. What do you think, Mr Brown? I think, said Paddington, I had better start work straight away. It has been such a lovely day out, I must make sure the tower doesn't fall down before we come again. Caw, caw, said the ravens. Caw, caw. And there he is, feeding all the ravens those marmalade sandwiches to keep them from flying away. Thank you. See you later.